Okay, so I was just doing like some basic checks on my anchor winch and thought I'd make a bit of a video about it, just sort of I'm not going to do a full sort of service on it. This is a high speed, an SL Hyspeed winch, really good bit of kit. So ultimately what we got is the winch comes in here. Now I think my particular one has got inside here there are two sets of chains which connect to the ratchet, and what happens is then you put an extending bar into here. And they come back and forth there. Okay, so they go back and forth, up and down. That's sort of apologies. So the way it sort of works is that goes up and down. The reason that was a lot tight then was this, you know, sort of acts as a locking mechanism. What it does is it clamps this bit shut so that then locks it off. My understanding on other videos I've watched of this is there should be dual action. It should engage going up. Oh, it's nearly there. So ultimately mine's only been engaging while going down, and then it was sort of jamming on the way when it engaged coming down. Sorry, it only engages going up, and then it was locking or jamming on the downstroke. It should sort of keep going each way. It's just noticed then we had one or two pulls on it where it was going both ways. That's good for me. So ultimately what I've been doing is I took off the top here, which has been absolutely brutalized by someone else. So that in there is it's oil. So in there we just put transmission oil, so just some EP80, and it only takes like a cupful, if that. Best way to do it, take it out if you've already got them, take out what you have and sort of measure it as it comes out, so you know what to replace it with. Ultimately there's no dipstick on there, that just comes out as a sort of a nut, but it's sort of, you fill it by all accounts to the sort of bottom of this angle here, so you can actually use the tip of the extractor hose as a dipstick, is what I did. So it's sort of based on the theory that inside here it's just sort of splash oil in, so chain goes to the bottom, so as long as the chain's coming through it and lifting it up and over, then we should be good to go. The other side, this is what I'm going to make the video about. So on this side here there's a grease nipple, and that holds in this end here, so we can only release it really to the depth of where the sort of retaining housing is behind the grease nipple. The grease nipple went on this, it's 13mm, everybody's favourite, but like I've started cleaning it, but couldn't even see that it was a grease nipple when I started. It was full of like, and this is the state on it after giving it a bit of a go in with the wire brush gently, but it's sort of all minged out, the back's solid, so I'm just sort of cleaning that out and through, degreasing lots of the ming off it. And then what should happen is this should just unscrew. Okay, so this is catching there, but there we go. You can sort of see the state on the inside there. It's very grimy and horrible. And then this sort of thing just sits on there really. So that sits on this spool, can go back and forth. So mine, because it wasn't sort of, the reason I wanted to service it was it had a sort of long period of inactivity, and this is kind of like semi-seized onto it. So I'm just going to re-grease this, clean it all up, get the grease nipple working again. You can see the sort of remnants of different types of grease there. I put a little bit on it the day it sort of seized, kind of putting it on my list of things to do. So I've got the sort of the winching arm off, or this, whatever you would call it, eyelet. You can see there's remnants of old sort of grease on there. It's not too bad. It's all looking nice and clean, fair, well, clean within reason. I'll clean this all off now, change the grease, and just sort of put some fresh on there. Now that we've removed that in bit, this comes off, so that sort of engages and disengages to allow it. In there you can see there's a bit of a smear in there. That goes in and through, so I'm just going to give this a bit of a clean up and through, and then I'm going to add, put it all back together, clean it. I'm trying to purge the grease nipple, I think, so sort of ideally I will connect this to the end of the grease gun and sort of give it a bit of a pump and push all that old stuff out. In there I'll give it a little bit of a clean up. I'm not going to go overly, so I'm not stripping it any more than this today. give it a bit of a wipe down, and then add all the fresh grease to it. That's the idea. Okay, so this is the inside of that grease nipple. I've attached it to the gun, just very gently nudging out the sort of older grease, and do that while holding the camera. There we go. So just, yeah, all we've done now is just clean out that little bit of a nipple, got the worst of it out. The next thing I did was, and again, the reason I kind of make these videos, A, to sort of help people out if they're sort of on the same search as me, and not really, you know, saves you trawling through hundreds of videos like I did, maybe to find or not to find what you were looking for. But also as well to flag up from people who know what they're on about when I'm making mistakes that I'm unaware I'm making. So I'm using here sort of waterproof, which I know grease is waterproof, but sort of blue grease, high performance bearing grease. So I've sort of put a bead of it along there, and I'll spread that out now and cover the whole surface, and I'll get the two surfaces working well together so that it's got a bit of a coat of grease on each. And I'm aware that I'm putting a different grease then inside, like a general purpose grease, mainly because I couldn't find the grease gun, a blue grease cartridge for the Winch, locally anyway. Another Winch, I couldn't find blue grease cartridge for the grease gun. There we are, a couple of applications of the grease there, and I've sort of coated both of the surfaces. It did sort of seize on me, like I say, previous to this, so my hope is that I avoid that happening again. Just right there, so that's all on this nicely greased up. There's a bit of a grease on the thread, but I haven't threaded yet, so I'm going to grease the threads, put them in, and then I will put in the grease nipple. Again, a couple of applications of grease on the thread there, and she is running lovely and smooth to be done up. So I'm just going to put the grease nipple back on. A very basic servicing of the SL Hyspeed winch. So it's all running lovely and smooth, well oiled, so I greased up through there. Just left a bit on the nipple to keep it all clean and clear. I'll just make sure it's all kind of keep an eye on it really as I come back and forth. Yeah, interesting to see from comments about the mixing the two types of grease. I'm sure it's going to cause absolute carnage and make the boat explode, but in the meantime it's lubricated anyway.